What's up, everybody? Ah! Just had to get that out. This team, Abigail. Welcome into the Celtics Talk podcast here on NBC Sports Boston Podcast Network, coming to you live from the Chase Center after the Celtics fumble away yet another game. And I hate calling it fumble away, but like literally they fumbled the ball 18 times. You want to talk about 18? Banner 18? 18 turnovers, Abby. How do you feel about that?
I've been better, Chris. I've been a lot better. I'm pretty down. I felt great after Game 4. And then it just felt like deja vu. So many of the Celtics issues from earlier this season when they were terrible, so hard to watch, so frustrating, just came back. And it was like the last 3 or 4 months never happened. They got off to a bad start in a game they knew that they needed to have. Hit the magic number, 16 turnovers. Felt like they were going to do that in the first half. And we're arguing with the refs and would not give it up. I'm down.
Oh, no. All right, so I'm going to have to bring the energy this time then. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Should have warned you, probably.
I know, but it is hard to muddle through here. So I think the most baffling part for me is how we go through Game 4 and the second half of the fourth quarter where they don't score 6 points over 7 minutes. And you're thinking, all right, they spend the last 48 hours hearing about it, and they come out here, 6 points in the first 7 minutes or whatever. Again, like the sequel that nobody asked for. And how do you come out that impossibly flat?
I don't know. No one had any answers post-game. Ime Udoka said, I don't know. And what's frustrating is that pre-game I asked Ime, what's the one word that you were trying to impart on your team? And he said physicality. And the Celtics still come out here in that first quarter and get punched in the mouth and have very little response until they go into halftime. And like I said, it's one of those things that you just cannot explain right now. Ime did admit that there may have been some level of fatigue, especially for Jason and Jalen.
Do you think? I'm going to go through. I bet he said it 47 times.
After the third quarter, though, Jason was throwing air balls in the first half. So, okay, that's my question to you. What is going on with Jason Tatum?
I think you mocked me last episode when I said. So I think there is some degree of fatigue. I hate, almost like, here's the things I don't enjoy. Bitching about referees and bitching about fatigue. I don't think
they go 1-2 for you?
Pretty much. If you are in the NBA Finals, you probably should not be worried about, you should just get adrenaline, and it should carry you through. Now, certainly you dig yourself a 16-point hole, all of a sudden you've got to cobble your way through, and you expend a ton of energy coming back, and you can't lean on your bench, and that all plays into it. But I will relent. If you look at the numbers, Jason Tatum, I think it's up now, if I have to do the quick math in my head, 930-something minutes in the playoffs. Next closest that isn't a Celtic is Klay Thompson at 740. So it is a big disparity. You start thinking about Tatum, how many minutes he played during the season, how many minutes he played at the Olympics. It does all add up in a season when he played 110 games. All that being said, I can't just excuse everything that went on in this game. You should still be better in the first half when he had the majority of his turnovers and sloppiness. And so I just think some of it's catching up with him, but some of it is they're just not crisp. And I don't know why there's been such a loss of focus at this stage of the season.
I agree, and I think that that's one of the most frustrating parts. That's what was so key to that turnaround, is the fact that the Celtics were dialed in every single game, executing the game plan, and that has just fallen by the wayside. That's what's so inexplicable to me, is when they should be the most focused here. When every possession matters, they're just kicking the ball away.
What was up with Jaylen Brown in the first half?
I don't know.
All right, we have no answers. Here's my other big frustration with the team is that you can lament the turnovers, you can lament the missed free throws, all of that's fair. End of the day, I look up and what did they score? 106, 107? And
the Warriors, 100.
Yeah. That's
104.
A game you should win.
Especially a game where Steph Curry doesn't hit a three for the first time in forever.
I think in his career.
In his entire playoff career, did not hit a three. And I know that is going to be everywhere. What a missed opportunity. That's just one thing. And after Game 4, you asked me, Andrew Wiggins, best game of his life.
New best game.
Andrew Wiggins, apparently the X factor in this series for the Warriors.
And that's my thing. So we sit here and talk about energy, right? And Wiggins is flying around. He's
Absolutely.
Aggressive to the basket. He's got those young legs on a team that is full of veterans that are otherwise plodding. And a night like this where Steph doesn't have his three-point shot, Klay goes up a little bit. Draymond still had a fairly impactful role for a guy who was in foul trouble.
After he did get called out by his mom, by the way. That's
what happens. My mom calls me out. I'm going to be much better on this podcast. So, so I think just Wiggins, like, that's what you're looking for from your young stars.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
It's weird to be sitting here, and Perk just brought up on the show, like, he said Andrew Wiggins is outplaying Jason Tatum in this series. And I was like,
That's a problem.
I don't know if, do we agree with that?
I mean, he certainly brought the energy tonight.
It's hard not to
And
disagree.
the aggression and getting to the rack and pushing through. No, I would not go so far as to say that. But
he's been good. Like, I mean, everyone mocked the whole
good.
All-Star selection and everything, but like here he is and having an impact when especially with Looney in foul trouble, they needed someone on the glass. Wiggins has been great. And so there's no player on the Celtic elevating like that right now.
I will say, to be fair to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they did not get much help tonight. Ime Udoka, not afraid to call out the bench for their lack of production in this game. Derek White has struggled mightily these last few games. Peyton Pritchard, who
missed 3 threes in like
God
30
love him,
seconds.
has one job. That is to hit
Did not do
threes
his job.
and to play hard on defense. And then, I mean, Al Horford, who wants this so bad. And after he hit that 3 in the third quarter, was flexing. But he's a minus 63 over the last 3 games. That is a stat from Dick Leip. And I couldn't tweet it because it's just too hurtful.
It's tough.
But that's a lot.
I thought this would be a very Al impacted series because I thought him more than anyone would value the moment, right? Like if you're Jason and Jaylen, as much as you shouldn't look at it this way, you're always thinking, well, we'll be back here, and that's always in your mind that it does like take a little bit of a step to get there. With Al, it took him 16 years to get here, and there's no guarantee you ever get back here, especially at that age. And so I'm surprised he hasn't been more impactful, that he hasn't been able to impact. I mean, he hit that 3, looked fired up, but like everybody else, I think he is maybe 3rd in minutes, which again, when a 36-year-old guy is 3rd in minutes in the playoffs and now played 23 games, it all adds up. Do you
think it could be fatigue overall after 2 Game 7s?
I do think it's like part of the equation, but I can't still. Like the start of the game, you should not be fatigued after 2 days off. Yeah. And I understand his cross-country flights, and it's a lot easy for me to do up there where I'm,
for the record,
where I'm drinking coffee and eating butter croissants at 6 o'clock and popcorn and
soft serve ice cream.
Well, you did have something healthy though, right?
I did. I had a salad.
Yeah, good for you.
I'm trying to keep the option for In-N-Out open later. So really,
which
not some ulterior motives there.
Now I need a Game 7 just for that reason, to come back and to get the In-N-Out that I have not managed to secure thus far. But no, so I just, fatigue's going to be a huge storyline, and people are going to crunch the numbers just like I did, and half the people will be upset and say it's an excuse, and half the people will say, yeah, it's just, this does catch up with you at some point, and I do think we're seeing that to a degree. But my bigger point is, if you don't start the game that slow, fatigue isn't as much of an issue. And if you could lean on,
work so hard to make up for.
Yes, and if you could lean on Grant Williams for longer stretches, and if you could, Derek White didn't go into this funk after the great Miami series. Like maybe, can he pump out another kid like super quick?
Pretty sure that's not how it works.
It's just,
speaking
I don't know.
From experience,
these playoffs seem like quite a lot.
Maybe Hendricks needs to let him sleep more or wake him up more.
I mean, 6-hour flights. The guys should be getting some shut-eye. Ain't like get the baby on the plane.
I can't sleep on a plane. I don't sleep on a plane. That's what
is tough.
It's making this even tougher.
I'm gonna try on this red eye tonight because I would like to sleep. So this Tatum tweet got dug up from 2012. Have you seen this?
Well, I saw it on Twitter.
Yeah. Where else would you see tweets running around this video?
Tonight from 2012. Who? What? Which one?
So Tatum in 2012 tweeted Jabari Parker is better than Andrew Wiggins.
Oh, no, I didn't see that one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, so people have dug this up because, I mean, Tatum would have been, let's see, quick math, I don't know, 12, something like that.
2012 was 10 years ago. He's now 24, so he's 14.
See, that's why I brought you on. What was your SAT math score?
Oh, I mean average.
Okay, here we go. Mine was elevated. That's why I'm a numbers guy. But ironically, my writing was terrible, and I'm a writer, so go figure. That's a whole other podcast. So, but it is funny that, I mean, do you think Andrew Wiggins found any motivation in Jason Tatum's old tweets?
No, I do.
You never know. I'm grasping at straws here, Abby.
Who knows what motivates Andrew Wiggins?
All right, 2 more things before we turn our attention to Game 6.
I will say I am terrible at numbers. That was I'm going to clip that and give it to my husband, who like forces me to do the math on when we go to a restaurant and checks, just because I'm so bad at it.
We have
Feels
phones.
like I need the practice.
Phones do all the math now. There's no need. Random things from this game. The Jabberwockies were here. Any thoughts?
They're actually very short humans. I was marveling at that backstage after the Celtics had tossed it away in the fourth. They're all like, our height, I would say, which I think makes sense for the aesthetic. They all have to be about the same. So yeah,
this is slander.
They're all much shorter than NBA players.
I only brought this up because we needed a diversion from the game for at least 30 seconds. So I'm glad we got the throw in the Jabberwockies. So one of them got yelled at because he was doing this like back bend on the court, and the players were coming back out, and security literally just
wasn't ready to leave.
Kicked them off the court. All right. I think that was enough of a diversion from
I thought you had no other quick hitters? That's it?
Nothing else. I got nothing. But I wanted to bring it back for 30 seconds before we start looking ahead. What happened in Game 6?
Oh, man. I will say Al Horford, talking about Game 6, had a little smirk on his face, a little gleam in his eye.
Okay.
Our backs are against the wall. We have to – this is the time that we look at each other in the eyes and we got to figure it out. We have an opportunity now, and we got to figure it out. There's no tomorrow for us.
And that is the bottom line.
I like Ime saying, let's get it back to the Bay, and kind of leaving it at that. I think, I'm sure Ime has screamed at his team for weeks, months now, and the fact that it hasn't sunk in has to drive him nuts. But I don't think you can just storm into that locker room and be like, you idiots, we need to get it together. Like they know that they are being idiots out there, and so it's just on them to decide whether they want to work hard enough to fix it. Or do you remember the quote in the locker room at the old practice facility?
Not the Kaizen.
No. That's the new one. So at the old facility, there's a great picture of Pierce hunched over out doing a workout, and it says, "What hurts more, the pain of hard work or the pain of regret?" And so that's where I'm at with this team. Like, what's going to sting more? Do they want to get their bleep together, stop turning the ball over, get this thing back to the Bay where Game 7 anything can happen?
I'm going to say let's get Tony Brothers out. Scott Foster in Game 6.
You know it's happening.
Let's go.
And I don't know, but it's so funny. I need to stop predictions. I need to stop looking ahead because I have not hit anything. I felt like I was really good at kind of predicting what might happen on that roller coaster through the first couple rounds, and ever since the Miami series, it's just been completely banana land. So
I'm realizing you should just go against whatever I am feeling emotionally going into a game. Like Game 6 against Milwaukee, I was sick to my stomach. I was sure the season was ending. Tonight I came in feeling all right. And
so you have to be a nervous wreck on Thursday.
Okay. I think I can handle that.
And
it's no problem.
I think
no problem.
I think the people told you shouldn't wear black. You're supposed to be wearing green.
I have a fuchsia jacket.
Trying to hide it.
That's another thing that has slipped in this back and forth across the country. My Rent the Runway order may not get back in time.
We
are all mentally fatigued.
Yeah, but there's no turnovers on this program, although I just watched the word turnover, so maybe I have no idea what's going on in my world. End on this.
Okay.
Confidence meter. I know you said, but like if you had to from like 0, these idiots have messed up the last 2 games, to I'd bet my child. Where are you at?
That's a huge swing, Forsberg.
That's why it's a spectrum.
What?
Okay,
I'm definitely closer to the bottom than the top.
That one child?
No. I keep saying it. I am going to believe in this team until we are proven wrong. Tonight felt like a pretty big hit to that. Because I really thought, this is the first time, as we know, that they have dropped consecutive games with Jason Tatum since January. I find it hard to believe they're going to drop 3 straight after all of this, but I also have never seen Jason Tatum shoot 4 air balls in a game.
True.
And miss 4 free throws.
I'm hoping they're finding some hyperbaric chamber to lock him in for the flight across the country, and that he will be back to more Jason Tatum than what we saw. He had stretches. It's just hard to sustain it for 45 minutes when you're not getting much help otherwise from your team.
What do you think? Yeah. How are you feeling?
I'm irrationally confident.
Okay.
Well, a couple things.
So
here.
the roles have reversed.
Yeah, this is great. This is why we're yin and yang. I just can't imagine they'll just let this get away without giving themselves a chance to get to a Game 7. And so I do think we'll see their I'm guilty because I thought that was going to be today, but I do think we'll see their best effort in Game 6, force it back out here, of course, because we love air miles, and we'll see what happens. It'll be the ultimate toss-up because anything can happen in a one-game series where heroes can come out of nowhere and, you get energy from parts unknown. But that's where I'm at. I am.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be crying.
Someone should be positive.
I mean, someone has to be positive, and I will try to lift people up. And especially because people were very critical of my mopiness on the last podcast. So maybe I'm just trying to overcompensate.
I feel like you went too low too fast. It hadn't gotten to that.
Maybe I knew what was going to happen tonight.
I know.
But now I know what happens in Game 6. So I need everybody to go like, subscribe, check us out on the YouTube page. We'll be screaming.
I hope you're right, Forsberg.